Welcome to Alpha Wolf Trading. Did you know that there's over 12,000 stocks or companies that trade on the OTC? Between the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, you have over 7,000 companies. But us as retail investors, we wouldn't know that unless we were researching. Because why? Wall Street focuses on the elite, the big companies. And where the retail investor has their advantage is in small and micro-cap stocks. Why? Because you have the opportunity to speak directly with leadership. That is what this is all about here at Alpha Wolf Trading. We're trying to find the hidden gems, and we interview the executive teams of companies that we think meet the parameters to be those hidden gems. I also want to make sure you understand that this is not a paid-for promotion. I collect no compensation for the interviews I do here. These companies that I interview have been identified as potential opportunities for me and the members of Alpha Wolf Trading to receive a higher than average return on our investment. These companies I have identified either because of a technical setup on a chart, a fundamental change within the organization, new management team, new products, all kinds of different things that actually lead me here. But what do I think is the most important? Leadership. And that is why I do these interviews. I want to understand what drives the person that is leading the charge. I want to feel their passion. I want to understand their vision and the strategy that they're going to use to achieve success. That is what these interviews are for. I want to understand the share structure and the cap table, the size of the TAM, the total addressable market. This is the opportunity to learn all of those things. So sit back and enjoy. And if you learn anything from today's interview, do us a favor. Subscribe to the Alpha Wolf Trading YouTube channel. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with a follow-up interview to one of my favorite stories. MLSS is the ticker symbol, Milestone Scientific Inc. And I've got Arjan, it's Haverhals?
Correct.
Bingo. Here with me, the CEO. And Arjan, you took over the company, what was it? I want to say a little over 2 years ago, maybe 3?
2 years ago, that's correct.
2 years ago. Okay. I will tell you that we'll get to the chart later, but the chart looks pretty darn strong for what's happening in the overall market for microcaps, right? I mean, you've certainly held your own, and right now, yesterday, last few days, little bit of a blip here, but actually, what it looks like to me is somebody's trying to shake some weak hands so that they can pick up some shares. That's what it looks like to me. But anyway, lots of good things happening, right? And to give everybody just a quick background, because we've got the full interview that we did last time.
Yeah.
But just a real quick, who is Arjan? What's his mission? And who is Milestone Scientific, and what do they do?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Tim, thanks for having me. My name is Arjan Haverhals, born and raised in the Netherlands, more than 35 years in the medical healthcare industry, pharmaceutical industry, and the dental industry. So I will not go into all the details of what I've been doing in the past, because that's history. It's more important what we are doing today and how we are going to move forward, right? That's probably the more interesting part of the story. The vision of Milestone Scientific is taking drug deliveries of the 1900s into the 21st century. Whether you go to a dentist, whether you go for an epidural procedure, the current standard of care, believe it or not, is the hypodermic syringe out of 1860 in the medical healthcare industry, it's positioned as the loss of resistance technique in 1900. So the issue here really is that when we are living in an era of technology-driven procedures, we still tend to use a manual methodology for either administering a local anesthetic during dental procedures or placing a needle in the back of a patient undergoing labor and delivery procedures or for chronic back pain treatment. Our technology is computer controlled. It's disruptive. It's a game changer. It acquires change of mindset. We are not saying that the current medical professionals are doing a bad job, not at all. It is more a facilitator. I always call it a GPS tracking system that facilitates the procedures, in particular in placing an epidural needle in the epidural space. And at the end of the day, you know, the most beautiful part of it, that is, you know, every day when I go to work, I contribute to increase the quality of life for the patient. If you go to the dentist, normally for a procedure, you know, you might feel the injection, it's painful. But more importantly, your face is numb, you have facial numbness, lip numbness, you cannot drink, you know, any hot tea or hot coffee or hot fluids in the next 3 or 4 hours after the procedures. And all these side effects simply do not occur while applying our technology. In the epidural space, our technology really prevents and protects, let's say, the avoidance of any damage on the spinal cord. So I think those are the most important features. Now, you know, a disruptive technology requires also a change in the market approach. So it requires also on a broader platform to become known, not only to investors, but also to the entire population, including families, you know, the moms and the dads that are sending their kids to the dentist, including women that are pregnant, that are expecting a baby or planning to have a baby, and also patients that are undergoing, you know, these procedures. And what we are simply doing, we are increasing the predictability of the outcome of these procedures.
So procedures, you right now, you're full blown going in the dental, right? You're approved there, and it's a machine as well as software. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So both in dental and medical, the business model is the razor blade. So there is an instrument, a capital equipment part, not dramatically high priced. And there is a consumable, which is a sterile consumable to be used for each patient, for each procedure at the patient. And that's the business model. Now, in the dental fields, to your point, you're absolutely right. In the last, that technology has been present for the last 2 decades, 14 to 20 years, so to say. And, you know, we're making improvements as we are speaking. So that technology, it's really clinically proven. It is present in 50 plus markets worldwide. We deliver and have our sales channels in the United States through an online portal and a direct sales team, international through an international distribution network. So I think where we are different than other companies that have been hit hard as a small cap or within the small cap and micro cap market is that, you know, we have revenues, we do not have any long-term debts, and we have sufficient cash at hand so that we do not have any plans short-term to raise any capital. And I think that's where we are different from other companies that are present in the small cap market. I'm not saying that we haven't or that our stock has not been hit hard, but we have been able to keep our head above the waterline, so to say. And I think that's where we are different. So from a company financial perspective, you know, the income and the revenues that we are generating definitely is stabilizing our balance sheet. We use that money then also to invest further into the medical business, because we are in those early stages of commercialization within the medical market segment, as it's known that in the United States in particular, as well as other markets worldwide, having a new technology that is simple, more effective, increasing predictability is not sufficient, because you need to have coverage by healthcare insurance providers through a reimbursement code. And we have been granted a tracking code in the beginning of the year. And we are working now with a number of clinicians to submit the claims to the healthcare insurance providers that hopefully then also will result that the healthcare insurance providers will approve these claims and put a reimbursement fee on it. So I think for a company our size, that's a pretty important milestone for Milestone Scientific, and we are working hard to continuously sending in those claims to these healthcare insurance providers.
It's really it's a fascinating thing to me, the whole insurance thing, the whole medical field, because this to me should not even be there should be a no-brainer. I mean, if you're improving the quality of life for the patient and helping better outcomes for the patient,
Mm-hmm.
it should not even be a question. It should just be covered by insurance, right? That's my belief.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point, and I think that's in the beginning when I took over, that was anybody's and everybody's belief, right? But we have to be respectful that when we talk about healthcare in general, you talk about hospitals, you talk about ambulatory surgical centers, you talk about private pain clinics.
I was just going to ask you about the pain clinics before you buzz off of that. Pain clinics are a legitimate. That's a potential customer for you. Yes.
Yes. Well, that's one of the major shifts that we have made, in particular the last year, because when I took over, we were only and mainly active in the field of epidural analgesia during labor and delivery. And then we were able, in particular last year, to expand that further to the private pain clinics, because the procedure, the needle placement in the epidural space is similar, right? And it was only approved in the lower part of the back, so the lumbar region. And then two things happened. First, we had been granted for a tracking code by the American Medical Association. Not that they approve it, but it is the opportunity and a certification that clinicians are allowed themselves to track the code. So in other words, sending in those claims. But secondly, important for us that we obtained FDA approval also to go higher into the spinal column. So the lumbar is lower, thoracic and cervical. And why it is important is that the morbidity rates or the side effects that can occur with these procedures are 5% in the lumbar, 17 in the thoracic, and 30 in the cervical spine. So in other words, our value proposition becomes more and more, I would say, clear, or becomes clearer for the clinicians, because the risk, the higher you get up into the spinal column, the higher the risk is going to be. And we all know that, there are numerous or several litigation cases on an annual basis. And of course, it's only a tip of the iceberg, because normally the cases are going to be settled. But giving you a little bit of flavor, on average, the cost of litigation is about $500,000 to $3 million or more, when there's no mortality involved, right? So there are several, for time to time you read in journals, magazines, cases of people that are paralyzed or temporary paralyzed or permanently paralyzed. And those are severe side effects of these procedures. Now, by using our technology, all these side effects, are avoided. And I
Can
think
you,
that's
can you
important.
define that for me? How are the side effects avoided by using your technology?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. And well, the first reason is that when you place a needle in the epidural space, right, then it means that it's called today, it's called by a loss of resistance technique. So it's a very manual procedure. And when you advance the needle, you feel a pressure feedback on the thumb of your needle whilst you advance the plunger in the syringe forward into the patient. Now, if you are hitting, let's say, a low density tissue, right, you have a sensation that you have a loss of pressure. So I do everything manually, right? Now, 17% of these procedures are false positive, right? So that means that in 17% of these cases, the drug is going to be delivered in a place where it should not be delivered. Now, if you go further with the needle, and let's say you are in the epidural space, but you are penetrating too far, then you hit a membrane called the dura. You get leakage of cerebrospinal fluid in the epidural space, and that causes these cerebral side effects like severe headaches, worse than a migraine, the potential of spinal cord damage, called also, temporary or permanent paralysis, or even mortality cases that occur. If you would now imagine that you would have the needle, and what we are doing, our technology, is you measure the pressure changes at the tip of the needle. Every tissue in the human body has its characteristic pressure signature. You connect the tubing that goes into the patients and the needle with the instrument. You read the pressure buildup. So if I enter the skin of the patient, the pressure goes up, it stays, and then it drops. But instead of that, you're feeling it yourself. It is now a computerized, a very objective measurement instead of a subjective measurement. How on earth can I, if you would do the procedure or I would do the procedure, how on earth would I have the same sensitivity that you would have? It's almost impossible. So the technology that we have introduced is more accurate and more sensitive than the human touch. And that's where the uniqueness is coming in. So again, it is, I would say, a GPS tracking system that guides the clinician during the placement of an epidural needle into the epidural space. Again, we're not saying that the clinicians are not educated or not good in doing it. No, it is a facilitator that thereby increases predictability, efficiency, reduces cost, increases safety, and avoids all these costs of litigation that can occur. So, I always say, during labor and delivery as well, it's known. Ask friends in your network, have you ever had an epidural procedure? 9 out of 10 people will have a negative, attitude experience with it, right? During labor and delivery, the headaches that occur for the mom and the child, it's not only the headache, but in literature, it's also presented that there's an emotional aspect, because the bonding, the child and the mom, the breastfeeding, the bonding phenomenon of the mother and the child is disrupted because the headaches are so severe. So the only thing that we are asking is, give us an opportunity to give a beautiful happening for a family, which is the birth of a child, to make it more beautiful. That's all what we're asking for, right? It's not a lot. and then you come back, okay, why isn't it accepted, or why isn't it the current standard of care? Then you come into those discussions about value assessment committees, budget at hospitals. So the issue here is really from an emotional point of view. You have a diamond in the rough in your hand, but you have to deal with the healthcare system, and you have to deal with the healthcare parameters that is surrounding you before you get an approval. And I can complain about it, but that's not what I'm doing. It's just that we have to find a way to to jump over that threshold and jump over that hurdle. I think that's the best way I can describe the challenges that you have when you are introducing a disruptive technology.
So, there's KOLs, which are key opinion leaders, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a good group of KOLs that, or is that starting to build now?
Yeah, absolutely. We have both national and international. We have a number of key opinion leaders that have helped us also in the early days of the the clinical work, because you always have to do clinical studies, randomized clinical trials, etc., even prior to obtaining FDA approved. Now the product is FDA approved, it's approved in Europe, CE mark approved. But I think also in parallel, more importantly, you need what I always say, ambassadors, right? You also need another pool of clinicians that are really willing of adapting new technologies and see the potential. And I think both KOLs and ambassadors are of unique importance for us and to the company, more important to the patient as well, because together we will be able to increase the penetration and adoption in the marketplace.
Which then leads to better outcomes, safer procedures, happier customers. I mean, better quality of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't sound like a bad thing, Arjan. And it's not, if my memory serves me right, this is not some incredibly expensive piece of machinery. This is relatively inexpensive.
Yeah, you're not talking about 25, 30 or 50,000 investment on capital equipment, right? The direct price in the marketplace, and we have several programs where we can help institutions in either renting it or financing it, or also place it in the facilities, and you steer it then over the pricing of the consumable. So what I'm trying to say is that the economic barrier, we have an opportunity from a commercial point of view to take that barrier away. So that should not be the issue, right?
So I don't know. This is to me, ever since we first met and talked, if I'd have known that I could go to the dentist and not walk out of there and I could eat something, right, without biting my tongue off or my cheek, right? I could eat something, I could drink something and not have it drool down my face and look like, right?
Yeah, and with all due respect, let's say for us, as grown up, you know that happens with a dentist, right? And you deal with it in a different way. But if you think, for example, for kids, pediatric dentistry, the risk is even higher, right? Because children, they do not control their tongue. You can bite your tongue, you can bite your lips, you have bleeding lips. So it's not only for the kid or for the child, it's a bad experience, but also for the parents, right? After a dental procedure. So really it is, again, it's a matter of the side effects are avoided, you reduce the anxiety, it's more comfortable, you reduce the pain, it's virtually painless, you increase outcome. And for the dentist, it's also a very nice opportunity to differentiate his practice and to continue to build that relationship with the patient, because if there's a happy patient leaving a dental office, he will talk to his friends or to his parents, to his family, to his network, and the dentist get also automatically a new patient referral to his clinic, right? So it's definitely, I would say, it's a win for everybody involved.
And I love win-wins, right? I mean, there's nothing better than a win-win. And here, I think there's a potential for a win-win-win, 3 wins, right? Because I don't think that even though your stock is held up well or better than most in this current environment, I believe that there's still a huge opportunity here, because I think you have a huge opportunity for growth. That I have to sit and ask myself, well, what's the risk reward here, right? I mean, there's not a whole lot of risk and a whole lot of potential reward. And yes, are there hurdles that you are going to have to overcome, of course. But Arjan, do you give up without a fight?
No, never. I think for me that's one of the reasons why I joined this company as well, was the unique opportunity, right? And perhaps I'm a little bit different than other people, but I really thrive in an environment where the complexity is higher or the challenge is enormous, then I'm in my element, right? And that's the reason why I put my shoulders under this and am committed and want to bring this company forward. Absolutely.
And there's just something about you. Arjan, I think you're going to be successful in it. I don't know. I wouldn't want to bet against you. So as I look at it, I sit there and from a technical standpoint, just so everybody can see, there's this big area of potential price resistance that you're just bumping up against right now. That's and of course the $1 mark is always a big psychological thing for people. You go from being a penny stock to a dollar stock, right? So that's a big thing. To be clear, right now you are going through the use cases for the labor, for the medical side of it, right? To try and establish that insurance reimbursement code, right? Mm-hmm. And then how long does that process typically take?
Yeah, so there's not a rule of thumb into that, because there's several questions that people will ask. How long will it take? Is there a number of submissions that you have to send in? There's not a rule of thumb. The only thing that we can say is that the healthcare insurance providers have an obligation to come back or to give a response in a window between 30 and 60 days. But again, you're dealing with authorities, you're dealing with insurance providers, and whatever I say, this is how it works. I say it's going to take 30 days. Then after 30 days, the telephone will call, and brokers, investors will call me if I hear anything. Now, what is important to know is that we as a company, we are not entitled to speak directly with these healthcare insurance providers. We're not entitled to give any recommendation on the pricing. It's really a relationship between the clinicians and the healthcare insurance providers. And if the clinicians wants to inform us that he has received a positive response, he will let us know. But it's very important, because at the end of the day, we are a public listed company. It is an important milestone, of course, if we would get news from the healthcare insurance provider, but it's in a way out of our control, right? So it's a little bit of waiting game. Definitely not one of my strengths, because I'm rather impatient to that extent. But again, we have to respect the boundaries and the rules of engagement here. And in any other way, when we will hear something, that would be fantastic for the company, and it will definitely also hopefully, because clinicians then will start talking with each other, it potentially will influence the stock, right? But you see, I'm sharing all the information that is available, which is not in the public domain, and that's what I'm continuing to do. But in this reimbursement segment, so to say, I have to be very careful, and the company has to be very careful, because what we do not want is to to act not in accordance to the guidelines of the American Medical Association. It's very simple.
Right. I get it. I get it. Very good job. So listen, let's just recap this real quick. So better outcome for the patient. I mean, if I'd have known, like I said, that this was even available, because I had no clue that this was even available for my dental work, I would do it every time, right? I don't care if I have to change dentists. I mean, they're gonna offer my dentist to give you a call and bring it in, or if you're not going to do that, then I'm just going to find somebody that will, right? So patients have, I would say, can play a role here, right?
Absolutely.
You can call ahead and say, do you have this equipment from Milestone Scientific? And if you don't, why don't you, right? Because you're going to lose me as a patient.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, well, but you're absolutely right, and that's also why we have initiated, a couple of weeks or almost a month ago. Normally I would say patients do not necessarily like to go to the dentist, right? In general. So we have launched a campaign that is called Love Your Dentist, right? So making this known to the public and to the like I said, the parents, to the patients in general that go to the dentist, making it known that this is existing, that's what we need to do. Because at the end of the day, and we have seen cases that dentists are coming to us asking for the technology because patients has mentioned it for them.
I have to ask a question. Do you have any examples of, and I would think that you would, but maybe I'm wrong, where a dentist that does have it in an area and there's dentists that don't have it, have any kind of data that can say or show that dentist that does have it has a number one, a happier customer, and number two, maybe does a little more work than the rest of the dentists around town?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a good story that one dentist, 27 dentists on 7 square miles, he is able to grow his practice by 25% year over year. And the others are sort of staying stable because he has our technology. And he always says to me, his patients are for him his, call it walking marketing billboards, because they are spreading the news that he has that instrument. And that's what I mentioned earlier. It's a unique opportunity for a dentist to differentiate its practice. You care for the patient, you're building up a relationship, you have the newest technology, you get, in a way, call it free marketing. I don't like that expression, but let's face it. You are able to increase your revenues, you're able to increase your profitability of your dental clinic. So you have definitely a very strong emotional patient benefit, as well as a business benefit for the dentist. And I think that's a uniqueness.
So I look at it like this: if you're a dentist, a doctor, or a medical student watching, pay close attention. If you need a demo, you just go to the site and say contact, right? Yep. Be happy to do a demo for them.
Absolutely.
Right. So we're not just all about investing. We're also we want to help improve quality of life too for people that don't know, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So the stock, I would say, if you wind up closing above 125 or so, you have a beautiful what's called reverse head and shoulders pattern on the technicals. Now you don't know what I'm talking about there, but it's a good chart. And when you break the neckline, that is typically when fun starts to happen. And I think you're real close to that happening, right? So you've got some fundamental things going on. that are kind of aligning with, you don't know when this insurance thing could happen, but the facts are you're continuing to do procedures every day and submit that data, right? So at some point, I would think something's going to happen one way or another, right? This is a game of, this is investing. This is not day trading. This is if you're an investor, you understand what the company has, you understand the vision that the leadership has. I have faith in you that you're going to make things happen, and I think the product is a no-brainer. So this is just how my little brain works, and I'm thinking the risk reward opportunity here is fantastic. I'm not telling anybody to buy the stock. That's not what I do. I'm just presenting the story, the facts, and you do the right research on your own. But I would suggest put this bad boy on your radar. At least put it on your radar and keep an eye on what's happening with the company. And 75. So this area right here, I think, is a really interesting area for maybe to dip your toe. Right? Just had the 50-day crossover, the 200-day. That's the Golden Cross, by the way. Golden Cross is a very bullish thing. The other thing I would say, and Arjan, I want to ask, do you think we're going into a recession?
No.
And this is why I love you, because you're one of the few people, and I'm talking very few, that actually says no. Because almost everyone seems to think, or no, we're going into a recession. And I can tell you this, when everybody knows something, typically it is the opposite of what happens. And I would say that we have been, and even if we did go into a recession, is that really going to make a difference in if people get a bad tooth, they're going to the dentist. Bottom line, right? They're going to the dentist. So it's not going to impact your business necessarily. As a matter of fact, it might increase business because dentists will be looking for a way to grow their customer base. So I think that this is a story that the risk is very shallow, and the potential for reward. I mean, you've been up this high as almost $5 a share, right? That's a pretty good return on investment. If we're not going into a recession and we come out and you continue to execute, where's the stock go? I don't know. But Arjan, I appreciate you taking the time to come in, share the story, and we'll keep following you.
Thank you.
Maybe when you get some what you would consider to be news or something that's kind of a game changer, maybe we'll have you back and
Absolutely.
do it again.
Absolutely.
Right?
Thank you so much, Tim. Have a good
All
day.
right, Arjan, hold on. Let me stop recording. I want to ask you one thing. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Arjan Haverhals from Milestone Scientific. Ticker symbol MLSS. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, please do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, why not give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.